Hey everyone, ready for some underwater archaeology today?
Oh.
We've got, we've got a real mystery on our hands.
Oh, yeah?
A shipwreck
Ooh.
off the coast of Kenya.
I'm intrigued.
And it just might be connected to one of history's most famous explorers.
You're kidding?
I'm talking about Vasco da Gama,
Oh, wow.
the legend himself.
The guy who opened up the spice trade route to India.
Yeah, exactly. Now, da Gama made a few trips to India, but on his last voyage in 1524, one of his ships disappeared.
Oh, no.
The São Jorge.
Okay.
And get this new shipwreck was found just off the coast of Malindi,
Malindi.
a place that Gama was known to frequent.
Okay, yeah. Malindi was like a crucial port, for that Indian Ocean trade network back then. So that location, yeah, it just makes this whole thing even more interesting.
Right, so we've got the right place, right time period. But what about the ship itself? What's the scene underwater?
Well, the wreck is in remarkably shallow water, honestly. Yeah, it's a bit surprising. You'd think, after all these centuries, it would be much deeper. But because of that, it seems it's been heavily scavenged over the years.
I see.
People probably took, anything they could use. Timber, nails, you name it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's left for the archaeologists to actually study?
There's still quite a bit, actually.
Okay.
There's tons of artifacts, particularly ceramics. And there's also iron concretions that need further analysis.
Iron concretions, those sound intense.
Yeah. They're basically like clumps of hardened sediment. They form around iron objects over time. So they need to be, carefully studied, but they can actually preserve amazing details.
Oh,
Like imagine finding out what tools they used on board or even what weapons they carried.
that's incredible. So it's like these concretions are like little time capsules just waiting to be opened.
Right.
But of all the things they've found, is there one artifact that really suggests this could be da Gama's ship?
There is one, yeah. There's this porcelain shard. It dates back to the late 15th or very early 16th century,
Okay.
which lines up perfectly with da Gama's last voyage in 1524.
So this one little piece of porcelain
Could be the key.
could be the key, wow, to solving this mystery.
Right.
But hold on, was the São Jorge the only Portuguese ship, sailing around that area back then?
That's the thing. It wasn't the only one. No. There are actually records of 8 Portuguese shipwrecks
Oh,
along that stretch of the Kenyan coast.
okay, so we've got some competition here. What are some of the other ships that could possibly be down there?
Well, based on the records and the time frame, the other strong contender is the Nossa Senhora de Graça,
Okay.
which sank in 1554.
All right, so we've got two main possibilities, but I have to ask, why all this focus on da Gama specifically?
Huh.
Why is it so important to potentially link this wreck to him?
Well, Vasco da Gama, he's a monumental figure in history.
I mean,
He literally changed the world
yeah,
by opening up that sea route to India.
right.
Like imagine being able to study a ship from his fleet,
Wow.
to understand the technology and the daily lives of the sailors on board.
Yeah.
It would be incredible.
That would be like getting a first-hand glimpse into that era of exploration.
Exactly. Plus, so much of what we know about Portuguese discoveries has been influenced by, let's face it, nationalistic perspectives.
Right.
But this shipwreck could help us understand this period of history in a more objective and nuanced way.
I see. I'm starting to see why this discovery is such a big deal. So, what happens now? What are the next steps in this underwater investigation?
Well, researchers are planning, more surveys of the shipwreck site.
Uh-huh.
And hopefully securing funding to study the artifacts in detail, especially those iron concretions.
Yeah.
The more we can analyze, the closer we'll get to solving this mystery.
It's like a giant puzzle. Each piece they uncover brings us closer to the full picture.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think that something as small as a piece of pottery could potentially connect us back to such a pivotal moment in history.
Absolutely. It really highlights the power of archaeology to bring the past to life. And speaking of bringing things to life, let's dive a little deeper into Vasco da Gama himself.
All right, so we've got this potential connection to da Gama.
Yeah.
But who was this guy really? I mean, beyond the history books, what was he like as a person?
Well, just imagine being born into a noble Portuguese family back in the 1400s, a time when the world felt much, much larger and so unexplored. Da Gama was he was practically destined for adventure.
Yeah, I can see that.
He became a skilled sailor and navigator, and it seems his ambition it knew no bounds.
So he wasn't just handed this opportunity on a silver platter.
Yeah.
He really worked his way up.
Exactly. And you have to understand at that time, finding a sea route to India, it was considered almost impossible.
Wow.
But Da Gama, he saw an opportunity. Spices like pepper, cinnamon, cloves, these were incredibly valuable back in Europe, and whoever controlled that trade route would have immense wealth and power.
So he was motivated by more than just adventure then. There was a real economic incentive there.
Oh, absolutely. But let's not downplay the sheer daring of his first voyage. In 1497, he set sail from Lisbon with 4 ships, over 170 men.
Wow.
They rounded the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, facing treacherous storms, navigating completely uncharted waters. Can you imagine just setting off into the unknown like?
Honestly, the thought of being at sea for that long, it makes me a little queasy. No GPS, no modern technology. It had to be just terrifying, but also exhilarating,
Sure. Yeah, you're not wrong. And it took a toll. I mean, they faced scurvy, storms, and hostile encounters along the way. But after over 10 months at sea, they finally landed at Calicut in India, a major trading hub.
10 months. That's longer than a modern pregnancy.
Yeah.
It really puts into perspective the scale of their achievement.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, right? I mean, Da Gama's arrival in India, it must have had huge repercussions.
You're right. It wasn't just a friendly exchange of spices. Da Gama's voyages marked the beginning of European colonialism in Asia.
Right.
And while it opened up trade and cultural exchange, it also had a devastating impact on many indigenous populations.
So it's a complex legacy.
Yeah.
We can't ignore the negative consequences of his actions, even as we acknowledge his incredible seamanship and exploration.
Precisely. It's crucial to understand both sides of the story. Da Gama's voyages, they led to centuries of exploitation and oppression. There was the displacement of indigenous people, the spread of diseases, and the imposition of European values on existing societies.
Right. It's a reminder that history is rarely black and white. There are always different perspectives and unintended consequences.
Exactly. So with all that in mind, let's talk about what happened after that first voyage. Did Da Gama just, retire and live out his days in luxury?
Knowing his ambition, I'm guessing that wasn't the case.
You're right. He didn't just stop there. He actually returned to India twice more, leading even larger and more heavily armed fleets. His second voyage in 1502 was especially brutal. He was determined to establish, Portuguese dominance in the region, and he resorted to violence and reprisals against local communities.
It sounds like power definitely had an effect on him.
It seems that way. He was driven by a desire for control and wealth, and he wasn't afraid to use force to achieve his goals. And ultimately his ambition led to his downfall. In 1524, he was appointed Viceroy of India, a position of great power. But he died only a few months later in Cochin, India, from malaria.
Wow. So the man who opened up the sea route to India ultimately succumbed to the very region he sought to control. It's almost ironic.
It really is, and that brings us back to that shipwreck off the coast of Kenya. If it is the São Jorge, a ship from Da Gama's final voyage, it becomes even more significant, a direct link to this complex and controversial figure.
It's mind-boggling to think that an object from that era, a piece of pottery, a nail, a tool, could have been touched by Da Gama himself.
Right.
But you're right. Even if it's not his ship, there's still so much we can learn from it.
Absolutely. Every shipwreck tells a story, and this one has the potential to teach us not just about Portuguese history, but about global trade, cultural interactions, and the impact of colonialism.
And that brings us to the broader world of underwater archaeology itself. Mm-hmm. What does this discovery and the ongoing investigation tell us about this field?
Well, for me, this case perfectly highlights how underwater archaeology isn't just about finding cool artifacts. It's about challenging our assumptions about the past and adding new chapters to the story of human history.
So it's not just about what we find, it's about what it teaches us.
Exactly. Think about it. The São Jorge, or any shipwreck for that matter, is like it's like a time capsule frozen in the moment of sinking. It can provide a snapshot of life on board, the technology of the time, the trade routes, the cultural interactions. It's a window into another world.
And in this case in particular, the fact that it's in the Indian Ocean, a place that was such a hub for global trade, it makes it even more intriguing.
You're absolutely right. The Indian Ocean was a crossroads for centuries. Think about the Silk Road,
Yeah.
the spice trade, the exchange of ideas and religions. It all flowed through those waters.
So this shipwreck isn't just a Portuguese story, it's a global story.
Yeah.
It reflects the interconnectedness of our world even back then.
Exactly. And that's what makes studying these shipwrecks so fascinating. They can provide insights into not just one nation's history, but into the broader tapestry of human interaction. And what's really exciting to me, the potential these shipwrecks have to tell the stories of ordinary people.
You mean the stories of the sailors themselves, not just the famous explorers.
Yes, we might find, personal belongings, tools, or even skeletal remains that tell us about the crew, their origins, their health, their daily experiences. These are the voices that are often lost to history.
It's like we're giving a voice to the voiceless, allowing these forgotten individuals to step out of the shadows of history.
Exactly. And every artifact, every piece of timber, every tiny clue helps us reconstruct their lives and paint a richer, a more nuanced picture of the past. But let's be real, underwater archaeology, it isn't easy.
Yeah.
Or cheap. What are some of the challenges these researchers face in bringing these stories to light?
That's a great question. I imagine it's much more complex than just diving down and scooping up artifacts.
Oh, definitely. First off, funding is a major obstacle. Underwater exploration and excavation require specialized equipment, skilled divers, and a lot of time. It's not like digging a hole in your backyard.
Right.
And you mentioned earlier those iron concretions. I imagine those are a real headache to study.
Yeah.
They can be a challenge for sure. Scientists have to use X-rays, CT scans, other techniques to reveal the objects inside. It's a delicate and often time consuming process.
So there's a whole world of science and technology involved even after the artifacts were recovered.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the ethical considerations. Who owns these shipwrecks? Who has the right to excavate them and study them? How do we balance scientific curiosity with the need to protect cultural heritage? These are complex questions that archaeologists, grapple with constantly.
It's a good reminder that we can't just barge in and claim these artifacts as our own. There's a responsibility to respect the history and the cultures they represent.
Precisely. And that's why collaboration is key. It's crucial to involve local communities, governments, and researchers from diverse backgrounds to ensure that these underwater treasures are studied and preserved in a way that benefits everyone.
It sounds like underwater archaeology is as much about diplomacy and respect as it is about diving and digging.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a multidisciplinary field. It combines science, history, technology, and cultural sensitivity.
Well, you've definitely convinced me that underwater archaeology is way more than just searching for sunken treasure. It's a window into our shared past and has the potential to reshape our understanding of the world.
That's what makes it so exciting. And as we wrap up our deep dive into the shipwreck and the world of Vasco da Gama, what's the main takeaway you want our listener to ponder?
That's a great question. Let's see. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the ocean is this amazing, this mysterious world, just just full of untold stories. This shipwreck, whether it's da Gama's or not, it's just one little piece of a much larger puzzle.
Right.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden down there, just waiting to be discovered.
You're absolutely right. It's incredible to think how much history lies beneath the waves. Every shipwreck, every artifact is a potential clue to understanding our past. And with each discovery, we get to piece together a more complete picture of who we are and where we come from.
It's like the ocean is this giant time capsule, just preserving glimpses of different eras and cultures, and who knows what advancements in underwater archaeology might reveal in the future.
Exactly. Think about the technology we have today compared to even just a few decades ago. We're constantly developing new tools and techniques that allow us to explore deeper, see clearer, and analyze artifacts with more precision.
So it's like we're only just scratching the surface of what's down there. What are some of the things you're most excited about in terms of the future of underwater archaeology?
Well, for me, it's the potential to discover completely new shipwrecks and sites that we never even knew existed.
Yeah.
Imagine finding a lost city underwater, or a ship from a civilization we thought was purely mythical. The possibilities are truly endless.
That would be mind blowing. It's like something out of an adventure novel.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond the excitement of new discoveries, what do you hope future underwater archaeology will teach us?
I hope it will continue to challenge our assumptions about the past and broaden our understanding of human history. We tend to focus on the stories of the powerful, the conquerors, the empires, but underwater archaeology gives us a chance to hear the voices of those who were often marginalized or forgotten.
Like the everyday sailors, the merchants, the families who traveled across the seas.
Exactly. Their stories are just as important, and they can teach us so much about the daily lives, the struggles and the triumphs of people from different cultures and time periods.
It's like we're giving them a voice, a chance to tell their stories after centuries of silence.
Right.
Yeah.
And through their stories, we can gain a deeper understanding of our own humanity. We can see the connections across cultures, the shared experiences, the common threads that bind us together. It's a reminder that we're all part of a much larger story, a story that stretches back through time and across the oceans.
That's a beautiful way to put it, and I think it's a perfect note to end on. This to our listener. The next time you look out at the ocean, imagine all the stories hidden beneath the waves, stories of adventure, of trade, of loss, of resilience, all waiting to be discovered. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be part of the team that uncovers the next big underwater mystery. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.